Hey guys, welcome back to another video of LearnAPCSA. Today we're going to be continuing our Unit 3 path, doing subunits 3.4, 3.5, and 3.6, and stuff like constructors, methods, and all that. First, we need to establish what an object's state is. When we talk about an object state, we're talking about their instance variables primarily. We covered instance variables last time, so if you don't know what those are, go check out our last video on Unit 3. They are really just variables that we establish at the beginning of a class. So when we talk about an object state, we're just talking about what their variables are at that specific time. Now, I'm sure you heard me say method earlier, and you might be wondering, what's a method? Well, a method is a specific, reusable block of code that we use within a class to accomplish a certain task. Now, if that sounds familiar, you might be thinking of functions if you've coded in something like JavaScript or Python. Those are similar to what methods are in Java. Now, constructors are special types of methods. They establish our instance variables and they give them values within our constructor method. Whenever you're looking at a statement that creates an object, you'll typically see parentheses at the very end. That's referring to the constructor. The constructor's name is the same as what the class name is. Sometimes you'll see classes that have no constructor, and what Java does is they basically just say, okay, no constructor or no values for your instance variables, and they give your instance variables the default values for whatever type they are. For example, if you had a private instance variable that was type int, then Java would just say, okay, it's 0 now, because that's its default value. If you had a double, then it would just assign it 0.0, since that's the default value of a double. Let's move on to other kinds of methods within a class. Typically, the main kinds of methods in a class that you'll see are ones that refer to instance variables, and those fall into one of two types of methods, an accessor method or a mutator method. Accessor methods, as the name implies, just access the instance variable. They go in, grab it, here you go. There's your instance variable. Now, mutator methods actually go in and they change the value of an instance variable. They don't really give it to you, they don't return it, as Java terminologists would say, but they go in and they alter the value in some way or form. You might be saying, why can't we just directly reference the instance variables? Why do we need these methods to do that for us? Well, another thing you might remember about instance variables is that a lot of times they will be private within classes, and that's why we designed these methods. They are essentially a workaround of not being able to directly access your instance variables from outside that class. All methods will have a type of header, and all methods will have the same elements within that header. The first one is something we call the modifier. That's the public in that method. It establishes the scope of the method. If it's public, it can be used pretty much wherever you want. If it's private, it can only be accessed within the class that it is created in. Now, the next part of your method header will be your return type. Basically, what that says is what type of object you will be returning with the method, or, as I said so eloquently before, what you'll be spitting back out when you're done. Methods can return a whole lot of things, like ints, strings, doubles, any object you can think of. Or you can make it return nothing, which is kind of what our mutator methods do. They go in and change it, but they don't really want to spit it back out, you know? And that's when we use this thing called void. Void is basically the absence of returning stuff. After the return type, we have our method name. This is what the method is going to be referred to as. If you're calling the method later, you're going to be using the method name. Within the parentheses that come after the method name, go your parameters that you want to take in. If you don't want to take any parameters, just put the parentheses and call it a day. Parameters are basically objects that you want to take into your method so that you can do something with them and kind of just put it back out. Now, after that, you just use your good old curly brackets, which I'm hoping you're getting used to in Java, and then you're going to put your actual method contents or body, which is the code that you want to reuse. Going back to the return type thing, there's a keyword for returning stuff. So if you've done something in your method and you want to return a certain value, you can just say return and then space whatever variable or value or whatever you want to return. That is it for subunits 3.4, 5, and 6. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. I'd be happy to clarify on anything. And if not, have a wonderful day and keep on coding. Bye!